Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Woman's Cave / Writers Class. Because, at this point, it's a writer's class, right?
You see how I had to pause in the beginning, right? Because I wasn't sure where she was going to put it. So I was like, I'm going to be gracious and not race your hand, and say the right thing.
And this is the only way that I get to have my first say, is because now she doesn't know what podcast it goes on.
Everyone's just laughing so hard with you.
They are. I saw a smile.
Who is smiling? No one's smiling.
See, she's smiling. She's smiling.
No one is smiling at you. No, I'm Jade.
And I'm Winona. Oh, we remember to introduce
ourselves. High social distance
style.
COVID's still out here.
Yes. Oh. Okay, I'm not even going into that.
We're not going to go into that. We're going to talk about how we wrote literary lifeguides with pop poetry. And because we have such a great show today, I think I'm just going to go with check out, and I thought being grown up was easy, the audio book. Yeah, because it's great. And Joe Sands did a great job. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com.
So we have a co-host.
Hi, I am Tanya Todd. I'm an author and actress in Las Vegas. And I am also the brand new host of the 52 Love podcast, which is where we explore a different intimacy tip, to improve romance in your relationship just once per week. And I owe it to these lovely ladies for nudging me in that direction. And I thank you for it.
Well, we like accolades, so you're welcome. But it wasn't us. It was definitely you, all you. But all right. So we have a panel today. What are we talking about?
We're talking about romance novels today.
And how to write them.
So we have a panel of romance novelists. So let's get started with...
Drum roll, please.
Okay, y'all, I'm picking my favorite. I'm sorry. Camilla, would you like to introduce yourself?
Camilla, you're still on mute. Just in case you want to stay unmute. I love Zoom.
No, I'm muted.
Yeah. Camilla?
Okay,
so
we'll move to Darcy then.
Darcy. Yeah.
Oh, I know how to unmute. I'm Darcy.
I get to be. Oh, okay, I get it. So should I start again?
No.
All right. So my name is Camilla Monk. I write romantic suspense, and two things about me. I'm French, actually. I come from a Franco-American family, and you should not trust any advice I give you today because I'm quite fumbling my way through writing. So I don't consider myself an expert.
All right. So I guess we'll move. She is amazing. We'll move on to Darcy, which is the expert.
Yes, you are the expert.
She's been writing romance for years.
Okay, I'm Darcy Carson. I write paranormal romance, fantasy romance, historical romance, and I've been doing some contemporary anthologies. And if I'm the expert, that's because I've been writing since the Ice Ages. So,
not the Ice Ages.
If you do it long enough, you're definitely the expert.
Absolutely.
And Sarah Smith?
Yes, hi, I'm Sarah Smith. I am a contemporary romance and rom-com writer. I've written the books Faker, Simmer Down, and If You Never Come Back. And two things about me are, one, I don't know how to whistle. I tried a million times and I just can't. And two, I'm a crazy cat lady. So there you go.
Wow.
I think that makes the best writer.
Yeah, right?
Really?
Okay. So we're going to start off our little romance panel since we are missing Diane and I was expecting her to take us 10 minutes. First of all, let's start off with a little bit of advice. What advice do you give anyone who's thinking about writing a romance novel?
I'll go. Persistence. I really believe you have to be persistent. You can write for as long as you want, but write because you like it, write because you love writing, and just do it for yourself if for no one else. It always helps if you get published, but write what you like and just keep trying.
Camilla or Sarah?
Sarah, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. Again, I like Darcy. Like Camilla and Darcy, I am not an expert. I feel like I have always loved romance, and I just wanted to try writing it, and this is just how it ended up working out. But yeah, I totally agree with the persistence advice. I guess I just, you know what? I think my biggest advice would be to find people who are also in the same boat as you. So like writing romance or aspiring author, whatever, because that support system really helps get you through the bevy of rejections you're probably going to face, unless you are super lucky and you get it, you get an offer the first time you ever query anybody, which does happen, but not very often, I don't think. So yeah, just have a good support system of other writers you guys can support each other.
I don't know, that sounded like expert advice to me.
Right?
It did.
Thank you, Tanya.
That was really specific for not an expert.
So now that we talked about, like you said about the super lucky, I'm gonna move on to the super lucky author,
Camilla.
I would say I would give you terrible plot advice, which is start writing. Just don't, you can go back to your plot later, but just start writing scenes and try to capture the alchemy and the emotions that you're trying to recreate in your book, because that's what you're going to need to move forward. If you're just trying to emulate stuff that you've read in other books or that you've seen on TV, you're going to create something that's soulless, and ultimately at some point you're going to feel dissatisfied with it and you're not going to finish it. So start writing something, even if it's a bit wonky. Write something that comes from the heart and that really digs into your own emotions, and you'll probably be able to finish that one.
Camilla, can I ask a small little side question, which is, how did you get published?
On accident. No, actually, it was a friend. I started exchanging chapters with her, and she advised me to seek an agent. And actually, I got an agent pretty easily, so I don't have any advice to give to people on that because I just got lucky. And after that, my book got bought by Amazon Publishing, but I think it was all a bit of luck.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Darcy or Sarah, how did y'all get published?
Actually, I was at a conference and an editor wanted to know where she could go smoke. And I said, well, let's go through this door. I'm kind of brave. So I said, let's go through this door. And I don't smoke. So I just stood out there with her while she smoked. And she said, well, what do you write? And I told her then, and she bought it. So it was being nice, I guess.
That's
And going to writing conferences and networking.
Right. I was about to say that. I was going to say, so writing conferences do work, y'all.
Yes.
Which conference was it?
Oh, it was an RWA conference, like I said, back in the Ice Ages. And it's and I'm now on the board of PNWA, which is Pacific Northwest Writers Association. And yes, networking, conferences, everything, anything that will put you in front of an editor or an agent. They're people just like we are. And most of the time when they attend conferences, now this is me wearing my PNWA hat, but we ask people, please listen to our writers, be approachable. And most of them are, 99% of them are. So
were you involved with the EWC conference last year, the Emerald City?
No, I'm Pacific Northwest Writers is a multi-genre writing association. I think we're about 65, 66 years old. It's been around for a long, long time in the Pacific Northwest. And but I've been a member of RWA, and I actually started the East Side Romance Writers that is now in Bellevue. And I've been president of Tacoma. Like I said, I've been around for a long, long time. I forgot what most new writers learn.
How about you, Sarah?
Sarah?
Yeah, so I guess I had the most unexciting way to get into this. I did the whole trudging through like query trenches for a long time. Like the first book I ever wrote, it was, I queried that and it got rejected pretty much across the board. So I wrote another book that ended up being my first book that I published. And I did the same thing. I queried a bunch of agents, didn't get a whole lot of promising feedback. So then I would regroup, revise, resubmit to a whole new batch of agents. And then I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Kiss Pitch on Twitter, which is like a Valentine's Day pitch event where if you're a romance writer, you can pitch your manuscript in a tweet on Valentine's Day, and romance or agents who represent like romance genre books will go and they'll like your tweet if they think it's a pitch that they would want to read. So I thankfully got my agent that way. She liked my tweet and I submitted to her, and that's how I got into this.
All right,
To show there are
that's a
so many
lovely-
different ways that you could get represented.
Yeah, absolutely. There, like Darcy and Camilla said, there's so many different ways, and there's no right way to do it. Everybody finds their way to this career however they want to, and I think that's kind of like the cool thing about it too. Like, you don't have to go to grad school for 8 years, you know, to be an author, or you can be somebody who does it as a hobby, and this is just where you end up, and we all kind of end up in the same place. So that's kind of cool, I think.
All you have to do is have product.
Exactly.
And I just wanted to mention that if you don't get an agent immediately, you can also start self-publishing. And I know that I got my first agent by querying, but the second one actually reached out to me after I've self-published. So that happens too. And it's a good way to get noticed as well, to be active on Twitter, on Facebook, and to interact with agents there, especially if they've read your books.
Lovely. Well, I mean, Camilla's books are addictive, so of course you read them.
Yeah, that's a really
Anyway,
good.
moving on. Tanya, you recently got an agent. Did you want to explain that one too? Since we are missing a panel member, you might as well jump in.
Yeah, I don't think it really counts for this panel, even though one of my books is highly romantic. I guess they both have to do with love though, right?
Right.
Well, I wrote a novel years ago and queried and, you know, went through the different evolution of crickets, and then you revise, and then you start getting form rejections, and then you revise, and then you start getting personal rejections. Then you get the revise and resubmit, then you get the full requests, and then you get the rejections from those. And then, you know, I just kept working on it, going through mentorships and going through workshops, just trying to improve my craft. In the meantime, I was writing a blog on intimacy tips. And so once per week, I would post a different tip on how to improve romance in your relationship. And toward the end of last year, people started nudging me toward making that a book. And so I asked, it was actually during your festival, your Thoughtful Book Festival. I just asked the agents that were there, would there be any merit to this? Because my platform is basically, I'm in the media once or twice per week, either with the And I Thought ladies or just some of the interviews that I have to do because of my work as education chair or as an actor. And there was very positive response to that. Then I reached out to someone that I met at the Las Vegas Writers Conference, Amy Collins. She's a marketing and publishing guru. I mean, she knows so much, but she happened to become a literary agent last year. I know that nonfiction was her specialty, so I asked her for help, and she said, well, send me your proposal and I'll help you make it shiny. And I sent it to her, and she asked me to call her, and then she offered representation. She did not. She did not help me make it better for somebody else. She said, I want to work with you on this. And so ultimately I signed with her, and she ended up taking my novel too, even though she doesn't typically take that type of fiction. Which is romantic women's fiction, but it doesn't follow the formula for a romance. So it can't technically be called that. But, you know, it was a roundabout way, but I did end up getting the agent just the same. And I'm very excited about that. And that's why we're doing the podcast, is to help promote ultimately that book.
Wonderful. And you see, she went to many conferences and did many things and revised. And so, yes, conferences, sometimes writers' conferences are a little pricey, but
What's the title of your book?
The title of my novel is Dark Beacon, but it's not out yet. I mean, I just signed with her in November.
Okay.
I think you have someone who might buy it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, we're buying 5 copies, obviously.
Yeah.
But, you know, someone else. Also,
so we're gonna open it up to the audience. If you have any questions, can you raise your hand or just unmute your mic and ask them? Otherwise, then we have to sit here and ask questions all day.
That's okay, I'm ready.
All right, Tanya, go for it.
How about first, what drew all of you to romance as your particular genre?
Probably the happy ever after. And romances don't deserve the reputation that they have because they have plot, they have emotional character growth, they have mystery, they have historical details. You pick any other genre and romance has it in it. So I have to be a staunch defender.
Right, it's consistently a best-selling genre and it's a billion-dollar industry, but it carries the stigma that I just can't understand. And I was guilty of carrying that stigma as well. When someone told me what you're writing as a romance, no, this is a real story. It's not romance. And you know, the whole thing, there's a romantic thread. It's romantic, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that.
May I jump in here for 1 second? I want to say, I know I've said at the beginning, this, first time I've ever tried a romance, it is hard. You guys deserve all the credit in the world.
Yes.
I feel like it's the only genre where either you develop your character or the book dies. Like, because I think I've written like everything else. I've written fantasy, sci-fi, just everything else. And the last thing I was going to try was romance. And oh my word.
So now that we're speaking,
now that we've moved on, you guys deserve more credit. I mean, just so much more credit.
But now that we're speaking on character development, what are some tips that the panelists have for people that are trying to develop their characters?
I have kind of like a weird, creepy tip, if that counts.
Yes, it counts.
Okay. So what I do sometimes is when I'm thinking of like when I'm trying to visualize my character, I'll think of like a celebrity or a well-known person who I like, or I'm really engaged with like their movies or their show or whatever they do. And then I'll watch like interviews on YouTube of them just to see if like I can just to notice like what their mannerisms are, like how they speak, or maybe they have like a cute idiosyncrasy that they do. Like I won't copy it, but that'll kind of serve as like inspiration for how I write a character, just to make them seem a little bit more human than just like, oh, this hero on the page who has like a six-pack or whatever, like just to give them a little bit more depth. That's
a great idea.
Okay, thank you. I can see how it's like a little bit creepy though.
It's not because you're not saying that the character is this person, but
right.
You know, in order to have all of these different qualities in people, you have to experience different people. You can't just be a million characters that are exactly like you. So if you're watching, and that's exactly what a writer should do, is immerse themselves in the world of other people, and then they can pick up little bits here and little bits there.
I did the same thing in my the second book in my series. It was called A Woman in the Woods. Woman in the Woods. And I based the main character after Wonder Woman because she was a strong warrior woman. And I went and saw that movie and just kind of watched it and tore it apart. And then I said, that was my female lead. So I just kept thinking Wonder Woman, except she didn't have an invisible car or flying airplane.
Oh,
and to that note, my character is based on Storm from X-Men, and it's not a superhero story at all. It was just some qualities that she has and her presence and her beauty and the way she speaks. It's if she were in this world as a non-powered person, but she still has power.
Mm-hmm. Okay, everyone, we're going to take a pause for a moment and we're going to introduce Jess Michaels.
Yes.
So Jess, will you please go ahead and tell us, first of all, your name and then two things about yourself, and then join right in this conversation about character development.
I'm so sorry. I think we messed up on Jess.
Apparently we messed up somewhere.
Jess? Oh, hold on. Maybe she's in a minute. Oh, where did Jess go? Oh, okay, so someone has their hand up. So we'll go with that.
Allegra?
A stall?
Allegra?
Hi, yeah, sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have kind of a strange question for you, actually. Do any of you, because I do know the romance genre, and I just finished like my first book of romance. Do any of you have any tips on pseudonyms, working with them, setting them up, anything like that? My day job, unfortunately, is working as an elementary school teacher. And as much as I like romance writing, they give all of the kids computers now. And I've had to I don't want to have to field any awkward questions from them or their parents.
I have an answer for that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that you have a software and website on the internet where you can create acronyms and mix up the letters from a word. So you can try that. You can type in your name or someone else's name or things that reflect you well, and you can end up with a good pseudonym. Actually, I don't use one, but this is an option. You can look it up on the internet. You have many options for that.
What were you going to say, Darcy?
Darcy?
I use my own name. I'm proud of being a romance writer, so I'm sticking with that. But use your middle name and your mother's maiden name. Something like that.
Are you asking how to go about finding a name, or are you asking how to use a pseudonym?
Yeah, I was asking more how to use a pseudonym, or if you guys had any issues with publishers or getting things published or anything like that.
No, it shouldn't be an issue. I mean, when you query, you would want to sign your real name and say that you're writing as this name.
Okay.
Because you want to be paid as your name.
Right. Right. I just didn't know how to approach that. So, because I knew that was going to be an issue as I was starting to look at putting it out there for publishing, and I was like, I want to make sure that all jives well.
It's pretty straightforward in the contracts.
Yeah, I have multiple friends who do write romance with pen names, pseudonyms, and none of them have ever had a problem. That's a very common thing. And even like writers who don't write romance, they'll have pen names for other genres just so that there's a distinct like identity in each genre.
I have a different name for my erotica. It's not because I want to keep that separate.
Yeah. I love your name for your erotica, by the way.
Thank you.
All right.
We have another hand.
We have another hand. Yay, Celeste.
Hi, thanks for being here. So I have a question about how to revise plot and tighten like a just stagnant middle. Any tips or suggestions? Thank you.
I'll go first. It used to be they'd say introduce a new character in the middle, because you're plotting along with the same people, and yes, you can have the sagging middle. They'd say introduce a new character or have the classic turning point. Something dramatic happens.
To me, that would be stakes. You have to always keep track of what your characters want. If they end up, having this very long conversation and you can't really see it's been lasting for 1-2 chapters and you can't see any way out of it and you can't really see where it leads, it means that you're stuck, and it means that they've lost track of their goals. So make sure, ask yourself at the end of each chapter, are they moving toward a goal? Are they still moving? Are they still aware of what they're looking for? If you're unsure, your characters are unsure, and you're going to see it very fast, you're going to start losing speed and momentum in 2 to 3 chapters, and then you're stuck.
I want to thank you personally for answering. I want to thank the two of you for answering that question, because I was wondering that as soon as I got on here. I was like, how do you stop that from happening? Okay, Sarah?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I am very good at writing saggy middles, and at least like first draft. And so I totally understand the frustration with that. It can be really hard to figure out like what it is that you're doing wrong that makes it that way. So that, like, so for me, and Camilla and Darcy's advice is so good, like that I've done those things and that has helped me avoid that issue. This is a tip that or like a trick that I use that doesn't really like address, like if there's a plot issue, this doesn't really address the plot issue, but if you can get to the point where you feel good about your plot and you feel like it's compelling, sometimes I think like little things like ending a chapter like on a cliffhanger or something like really helps. Just like that makes the reader want to be like, okay, well, what are they going to do next? Or sometimes I'll start a chapter in the middle of a conversation, so like the readers just pulled in right away, like, oh, what are they talking about? So just like little things like that help too, once you have the bigger issues resolved.
Overall, can you tell us how you plot a romance? Do you just sit down and write, or do you just actually do I guess it's a pantser or plotter question.
Yeah, I'm a pantser, but I've had to learn to be a plotter, because if you want to continue to publish books and get paid for them, you have to like hand in outlines and stuff, and nobody's going to pay you if you're not willing to do that. So for me, I guess I think romance is really great in that there are a lot of like tried and true tropes, and like there's a pretty general arc that it follows. You know, the feud and the conflict and the turning points and the dark moment, happily ever after, all that. So I use that as like very general outline points for me. And my outlines aren't really detailed. They're usually like a page, 2 pages. Some people's outlines are super detailed and they have everything mapped out. And that's great. And yeah, Camilla, yeah. Yeah. And so, sometimes I think you need that for certain, like if you want to do something a little bit more complicated or detailed. But for me, that's what works. I usually let myself I let myself be inspired by whatever I'm inspired by, and then I plot and outline from there. But everybody's different, obviously.
I just mentioned I am a plotter. Actually, I'm not technically a romance author, so that too is an accident. There's usually a romantic element to my books, but I'm mostly a suspense and fantasy writer with a touch of humor in my books. And as for plotting, I recommend doing a chapter by chapter outline, just etching the whole book from the start. And usually my outlines are 15,000 words approximately. And I pretty much do the whole book. And as I write it, I get bits of key scenes of conversations that are going to occur, and I slip them in along with the outline. So I start with this big mess that's about 15% of the final product, and then I develop each chapter. But that's a good way to avoid saggy middle, because you already know what's going to happen and how you're going to make your chapters click together, and you're going to avoid yourself a lot of grief. But it takes time. It usually takes me over a month to have that first outline, and then I can kind of write faster, but I need a lot of time to first plot everything, research everything, and get that first base.
So when you plot, is it more of a plot on, oh, I'm sorry, Darcy didn't answer this question. Let me stop asking questions.
I was listening to them. I'm more of a pantser than I am a plotter. It all depends on my characters and what their goals are and what they want. I kind of have an idea how the book will start. And of course, I know it's going to end happy ever after. And then it's just kind of that I use that romantic arc and know when the first kiss is, if there's going to be a love scene. Depending on what their goals are, I kind of know what the conflict will be and how it gets resolved. And then I just surprise myself to learn about these people as I write.
I love that you said you surprise yourself. It's true though. I think with most characters, people do surprise. Oh my goodness, I didn't even know they were going to do that.
Oh wow, it's always fun when they do surprise you too. But you wonder if they've really gone off the rocker this time, and then when they end up, you're like, that was much better than I could have planned.
Absolutely.
So my question again was,
were there any more questions?
Are there any more questions from the audience first? Okay.
Tanya?
Tanya.
Yes, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't bring up last year's RWA implosion. So I'm wondering, how did this affect each of you? And do you see hope for the organization to recover?
I'm a romance writer, but I was never like, I never joined RWA just because like I didn't really have a lot of extra money to pay dues and stuff like that. So that was really, I mean, I think that was really sad to see the whole, how it all, like you said, imploded. Because I think for a really long time, people really looked at RWA as like this very, they just really looked up to them as an organization, as an advocate for romance writers. And when it was revealed that they were, you know, mistreating a lot of authors of color, authors, minority authors, marginalized authors, that was really upsetting. I don't know how to like, maybe it's because we're in the pandemic and quarantine and my mind is just like preoccupied with the disaster of that. It's hard to feel hopeful. Not that I think anything bad or anything necessarily is going to happen. It's just hard to feel hopeful sometimes when you uncover like just how deep the problems go. But I feel like, at least on social media, I've seen a lot of authors in the romance community just really advocate for a lot of people who were overlooked and mistreated. So that's been really heartening to see. But I don't know, as an organization, I have no idea what they're going to do or what's going to happen. I haven't really been keeping track of what RWA has been doing lately, honestly, to be really honest.
Darcy?
I'm with Sarah. I originally started off in RWA, but probably been with PNWA for 15 years, and it was a financial decision. Who do I stay with? You know, and PNWA is local, so I went with them for about the last 15 years.
So do you think that it is very helpful to join your local chapter of whatever writing community that there is? And then we have a question from the audience that we will read in just after this question.
I will say yes. If there's a writing chapter, whether it's isn't there Sisters in Crime, which is a mystery organization, join them, because I think they have it. There's so much on the internet right now, but local, it's nice to be able to talk to somebody or see them in person when you can't see them in person is really the way to go.
Well, did you have an answer to that previous question? It looked like you were about to say something.
Me?
No, Camilla.
Oh, yeah. No, about RWA, I just wanted to mention that my first reaction was I sort of smiled because it was such a train wreck that, you know, the first days on Twitter, it was like, oh my God. But then I discussed it with my husband because I always report to him all the stuff that happens in the publishing world. And we discussed the fact that the issue is that they're making RWA implode, you know, over abuse, mismanagement, about just not treating authors of color the way they deserve to be treated. And over all of that, they self-destructed. And to me, that's a serious issue because authors do need a legal force behind them. There have been several interesting cases. Quinn has been.
Camilla, I think you froze.
Yeah. Oh, the joys of Zoom.
I think we all are used to it now, though, right? Like before, we would have to.
Yeah, but she was in the middle of something so important, and we didn't get to hear it.
Right, but that's Zoom for you. That's Zoom for you.
It's only on the good points.
It's only on the good points. Does it ever go? What? I can't.
The interweb is silencing her.
Oh, Sarah, you're the best. You've been really you've been doing the best chats. Okay, so the question from the audience, I guess we have to go there until Camilla comes back. Why? Why did I just miss it? Yeah.
Okay. Have you had any success with publishing short stories?
Yes.
Really?
Like I said, I'm in it. Well, I'm going to say short stories because I was asked to join an anthology last year with 2 other authors, and we self-published it. We're very pleased with the results. And how do I want to say this? We call them like spring reads, Christmas reads. The word reads is in every title. I think beach reads, and we're working, beach reads, Christmas reads are out, spring reads will be out this spring, then enchanted reads. So that was our theme, was the word reads. And we're very happy with the success. We self-publish them ourselves. Of course, it helped to have a New York Times best-selling author who was part of it, but not me, but.
Oh, Camilla, you're
So
back.
what were you saying? You're on mute again.
All right.
Mute.
Yay! Here we are.
So
All right.
I was desperately trying to say that authors need a legal force behind them to represent their interests and to defend them, especially when they end up in conflicts with large publishers. And that the fall of RWA is very concerning, because this is such a, a large force on the market. They are able to raise so much money to fight for years, sometimes for decades, against publishers. And I just hope that they're going to get their shit back together, because authors and romance authors really need that strength behind them. They need to quit with the bullshit and then focus on what matters, which is all authors are represented and respected, and that they do their job, that they're able to speak again to publishers, because right now their position is so weak when they're facing Amazon, where they're facing Harlequin, because everybody knows that they're in shambles.
Right. Okay. So I did say that. Did we say that the Romance Writers did come back? By the way, the Romance Writers Association got a new board, new president, and they are back. And
Oh, they
people
are. Oh,
joining.
Yeah, so I don't know. I haven't kept up, the 2020.
No,
happened.
last time I checked, they hadn't changed, but maybe they have since. Honestly, I haven't checked on them for several months.
Fairly certain that they're back and trying to make improvements, but it's a big divot in what they had, the power that they used to have. That's why I was asking, do you think there's hope that they can recover and be a positive force?
They have to.
Right. So we didn't just say. Okay. So this is wonderful. Sorry, we got distracted for a quick second.
There was a
because
question
there was a question in the chat.
And there was a question while you were frozen, Camilla, about what was it about? What about have you had any success with short stories?
I've never published any short story, so I can't really answer. I sometimes share small chapters with my readers, but I've never actually tried to make money off a short story. So,
okay. And then we have one of our last questions from the audience is, what is the best form for self-publishing? Platform for self-publishing. Why can't I read today? Anyone?
I can answer that. You cannot avoid KDP. It's not a question of whether it's the best. You just have to be there. And otherwise, to syndicate your book on several platforms, you have Findaway, you have Smashwords, you have various platforms that will allow you to upload your books on several websites, several retailers. I would recommend that, but be on KDP because you don't have a choice right now.
I second what Camelia said. Camelia said.
I'm also going to mention that you can throw it in with Barnes and Noble lists as well.
But it's not like the best platform.
It's not the best platform.
She's right.
Yeah.
She's right. Like you cannot avoid KDP.
Exactly. You can. I recommend to be on pretty much all the other ones on Barnes and Nobles, on Kobo, on Apple Books, and you can do that through platforms that are going to syndicate you. You're going to upload only once, and then they're going to distribute all across the board outside of the US, in Europe, in Asia, everywhere. You can be on French websites, even like La Fnac, which is a French retailer. And you have excellent platforms that will allow you to manage all of that in one single dashboard. I use Smashwords, but you can use any of their competitors.
Amazon is the elephant in the room when it comes to self-publishing, though.
It is. Although we did do 1 year without any Amazon. We didn't put any of our new books on Amazon.
That was an interesting year.
We still sold books, but
it was an interesting year.
It was an interesting year. Now we're back on Amazon.
Right. That was funny. I'm sorry. So the last question is, of course, where can everyone check out your books? And we're gonna start with Darcy, right?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm on Amazon through Wild Rose Press. DarcyCarsonBooks.com is my website. That's about all.
Thank you, Camilla.
You can just go to Google and type in Camilla Monk, and then you'll have everything. You'll have my website, Amazon, Goodreads, the whole shebang.
Yes. Okay, so and then Sarah.
Yeah, so you can find me on social media. I have links to my all of my books there. I'm at author Sarah S on Twitter and Instagram, and I also have an author website, sarahsmithbooks.com, where you can find links to my book and what I'm working on next and all that fun stuff.
Okay, so we actually have one final question from the audience, and let me get it because I'm Zoom slow today.
Do you all have any recommendations for writers who want to start writing romance but don't have a community for it?
Anyone?
I've actually found a lot of people on Twitter. There's a pretty strong romance writing contingent on Twitter, and I've found some really wonderful fellow authors who've become friends. We beta read for each other and are critique partners and collaborate a lot of times. So that, for me, that's been really helpful. I know not everybody loves Twitter because it is a little bit much sometimes, which I totally understand. But if you stick to like the M writing or M writing romance hashtag, I think you can avoid a lot of the ugliness, hopefully.
All right, you control who you follow, so just don't follow any feeds that will put that in your eye line. Facebook is the same thing.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
No, I just mute people on Twitter. Whenever I see something in my feed that looks like it's going to end up becoming a troll, I mute.
Yes.
And then they disappear.
I'm a dinosaur when it comes to electronics and Twitter and Facebook. I have Facebook, but my computer says that my browser doesn't allow me to go to Twitter anymore, so I just ignore it.
That's the reason.
So the question. So what's the question was if Darcy and Camilla can answer for another one. One person that has no community, what can they do for romance writing?
To me, you can start with Facebook. You have a lot of author groups, of writers groups. You can really start there. And I mentioned in the chat that there used to be a website that was called Romance Divas, and I don't know if it's still on. Honestly, I haven't been there for years, so I have no idea if it's still up. But if it's still up, that's where I first started networking, and actually I found that they had excellent advice, marketing advice on how to prepare your agent queries. It was a great place.
There's a whole world of community, of writing community on Twitter and on Facebook. You just have to do a search for your particular style of writing, whether it's romance or sci-fi or whatever you want to write. But then one of the benefits one of the unseen benefits during this pandemic is that a lot of writing groups are now conducting their meetings online. And so you could be anywhere in the world and still get to participate and be involved with that community.
PNWA does that, and we're a multi-genre, but yeah, just go online and find the genre you're interested in. I mentioned Sisters in Crime. I believe they're online too. if you're a
Syndicate
mystery.
Writers Group does the same thing. We have 3 meetings a week and it's free and it's online, and all you have to do is click the link and you can be part of it.
Okay. Well, thank you all of you so much for
For
showing
taking out
up
the
today
time.
and taking out this chunk of time today. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to have Tanya say where you can find out more about her.
I am across social media at Ms. Tanya Todd. My website is www.mstanyatodd.com, and my new podcast is the 52 Love Podcast. You can find that on Twitter or YouTube, and then also just, like Google Podcasts and Anchor and Spotify if you want to just listen to it. But I prefer the video.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to, IMDb.
And it helps my career, and the ladies like to ask me to say this. If you go check out my IMDb page, it just bumps me up on the list. It's the same thing as, when you post on Facebook and you get more interaction there, other people get to see it. And so the better I do in the acting world, the better I do in the writing world. It's just one of those things that it's all connected.
Tanya, I like how you slow your voice down. I don't know if you know you do that, but it makes it so that you're very clear and understandable.
Yep. See?
Oh, wow.
This is why you were
Yes.
made to be a podcaster, Tanya. All right, but I'll go ahead.
Let's wrap
Let's-
this up.
We will. All right. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com, including the Ladies Tale podcast. No, we're not going to go into it because we don't have time. And more importantly, all of that goes to the Ladies tab, go to the middle, see the charities that we probably support. Maybe you can support them too. We thank you in advance. And just remember, y'all, wisdom is all around you if
You're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys. No.
and Jade. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah, thanks for listening.